What is up? It is Taco Tuesday. It is week 6 college football, week 5 NFL. We have made it, Gerard. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Loving the black today.
Yeah, going all black. Not
Big
mourning
sigh.
anything besides your play of the day last night. But
I
that's
know I'm
okay. We
mourning.
tried to
I
get
was
you off the
wrong.
Rams, but it didn't work.
I was wrong.
Wow, okay. That went a lot easier than I thought it was going to go. I thought you were going to try to scrap and claw your way back to it. No, listen, that game
the Rams
played
looked
out.
like shit, and the 49ers defense looked phenomenal. And we'll get to that in a second. But you have to be feeling pretty good running your high of your play of the day.
It's already over and done with. I'm already on to today's play of the day. Here's what I will say. Today's play of the day ain't easy. And I'm on a little streak right now, so now it's starting to get pressure. The pressure's mounting as we get closer. We've been doing the show over a year, no one's ever gotten 7 straight or past 7 straight. That's the ceiling. I got it twice. Glaze touched it once. We've never gotten past 7 straight. Maybe we got a chance this week. We're at 3 now. There's 4 days left in the week. Or actually, I have 5 shows left in the week. 5 shows left in the week. Never know. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's very selfish. Let's talk about big picture. We learned a lot last night about both of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at the big picture of the Los Angeles Rams, I would raise the alarm. I would absolutely be raising the alarm. They replaced Odell Beckham with Allen Robinson, who looks like an absolute sieve. Their offensive line is playing significantly worse, and they're getting shredded in the second.
Absolutely shredded.
There were some plays last night. I don't understand how Deebo Samuel didn't get tackled like 6 times on that touchdown run. So there's definitely some issues with the defending champs. On the other side of the ball, if you're a Niners fan, I would be talking about winning this division is open for business. Seattle's down, Arizona's down, Rams are down. The Niners, to me, are the best team in the division. So we'll see how that transpires over the next few weeks. But I think we learned a lot last night about the way the NFC West is going to kind of be struck. Even though all 4 teams are 2-2.
Yeah.
There's an opening for San Francisco.
You see the strengths, you see the weaknesses, and we're going to get into that when we stock up and stock down on some of the teams in the AFC and the NFC in our next segment. But let's really deep dive into Monday Night Football. This is Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. We also have Jon Jansen coming on in a little bit to talk about NFL Week 5, so that's going to be exciting. But let's dive deep into Monday Night Football.
Dodge, you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Matthew Stafford could not dodge a wrench last night. Let's just leave it at that.
Dodge, duck, dive, and dodge.
Yeah.
And that's what the Rams were doing last night, because the 49ers were absolutely all over them. This was a statement win for the 49ers as a team, and Jimmy Garoppolo's been good. Obviously, they're sans Trey Lance, but he's not the biggest strength of this team. He's held them together. He's kept the offense afloat, but it's the defense that looks unreal. If you look at some of Stafford and Jimmy G's numbers last night, I mean, Stafford had 48 passing attempts, completed 34 of them for 254 yards. Jimmy G was 16 of 27 for 239 yards and a touchdown. It is the 49ers defense that is the biggest strength of this team. And defense wins championships. That's what they say. Do you think this 49ers defense is good enough to be able to win a championship? They held the Rams to 9 points last night.
Absolutely. I mean, they lead the NFL in EPA per play. I think on the defensive side, I think there's an element to this defense that we don't really know yet, just because, let's be honest, this was a team in the offseason that was dominated with quarterback headlines. That's all we talked about.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, Jimmy G. Where's Jimmy G going to get traded? Jimmy G's practicing on the junior varsity field while everyone else is practicing on the varsity field. Like, there were so many fractured drama, TMZ kind of headlines coming from Niners camp. Yeah, and listen, that sells tickets. It gets clicks. But at the end of the day, defense wins championships. I don't think we were really giving this defense enough credit. DeMeco Ryans is the guy that deserves a ton of credit. This was a guy that had a really good career in the NFL. And now he has transitioned into one of the better defensive coordinators in the game. He deserves a ton of credit. Now, yesterday, the handicap was the Niners don't blitz a ton, but when they did blitz last night, it was effective. They sacked Matthew Stafford 7 times. Stafford's ADOT, EPA per play, completion percentage over expectation, all below the average of where you would expect a Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winning quarterback to be. They didn't score a touchdown last night. If you bet the Rams no touchdown, you won big. I think it was like 16-1. This is a defense that has held 4 straight opponents to under 20 points.
Yeah.
They've allowed 46 points in 4 games. You can make a case that this is the best defense in the NFL. You can make that case right now. And if you're going to tell me that you've got Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a baseline veteran that understands when it's time to push the ball down the field, when it's time not to. Oh, by the way, Trent Williams at some point you hope comes back. Their offensive line held up okay last night. Not in the run game, but in the pass game they certainly did. And then, oh, by the way, the best defense in the league. They're going to be in every single game. Whether or not Jimmy G puts up 30 points or not and the offense is rolling, they will be in every single game. Very, very dangerous 49ers team this year with that defensive unit.
Yeah, Jimmy G is not the answer for the 49ers. It's the defense that's the answer. Let's get into the stock report because I really want to talk about the NFC West and the NFC in general. But right now, the 49ers are plus 120 to win the NFC West. And I really like them in this spot. Maybe not necessarily something I would have said yesterday before the game, but I think that today against the Rams. And I know Deebo Samuel, he was phenomenal too. He's a spark plug for the offense, and that's not unbelievable. But if the defense can stay healthy and be healthy, NFC West at this point.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wish people would have listened to our column 2 weeks ago when you get them at plus 180. But at plus 120, yeah, I mean, I still think they're the best team in this division. I do. And I thought they were the best team in division 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. I mean, when you look at the teams in this division, there is not a lot of resistance on the defensive side. The Seahawks and the Cardinals have 2 of the worst defenses in the league, and the Rams defense is not playing well, especially in the secondary where they've traditionally played well. I mean, they gave up a boatload of points to the Falcons a couple weeks ago, and then you saw the display last night. So if you're going to tell me I get the best defense in the division at plus money and all things are equal right now, everyone's 2-2, the Niners have a win over the Rams in their back pocket after.
Yeah. Let's take it east. Let's take it south. And let's talk about the Saints, who are playing super far east this weekend in London. But right now, they're sitting at the bottom of the NFC South below the Panthers, who aren't good. I mean, the Saints at this point are 7-1 to win the NFC South. Even a quarterback change couldn't help their issues. And Andy Dalton, even heading across the pond, didn't help their issues. Going from U.S. to Europe, that didn't help. They have issues. I know we all do, but theirs aren't great. The double doinker to end the game. For them, though, the turnovers, the penalties, the slow starts, that's been the issues for this team. I know we're only 4 weeks in at this point, but can these things be made up and overcome heading into the final 3/4 of the season?
I don't think the Saints are going to win the NFC South. I think if anything, you're getting a discount on Tampa this week, as shoddy of a discount as it is after their back-to-back losses. So the one thing I've learned over the years, Tom Brady always bounces back. They've lost 2 straight games. Always. They've lost 2 straight games. This is the time to buy in on Tampa. In fact, I'll take it a step further. For those of you that follow me on some of the tracking sites and my spreadsheet on my gambling spreadsheet, you already know this for the diehards out there. And there's a lot of diehards that watch the stream every day. I know you guys are out there. I get messages all the time.
We love you.
You already know we love you. You already know what my best bet is for this week in the NFL. It's already on the sheet. It's already tracked. It's already locked in. And it's already Tom Brady. I'll leave it at that. Continue, my friend.
Tom versus time, baby. That's what they all say.
Tom versus time.
Time, he doesn't age, but Tom, he wins them all. Let's take it a little more broad.
Avocados age better than Tom. Let's just leave it at that. The avocado toast he eats, they age much more harshly than Tom does.
Tom Brady doesn't age. He's 45 going on 25. Honestly, it's wild. Let's take it a little bit more broad stroke to the NFC. Take it further north. The Packers went up against a third string quarterback in Bailey Zappi. What is a Bailey Zappi? I don't know. I've never heard of it before. Not the prettiest performance.
We
from the
talked
Green
about
Bay
him last
Packers.
year.
I
Zappy
know,
Hour,
I
Western
know.
Kentucky.
I just
It's
like
our
to make the
guy.
joke again. I gotta
That's fair. That's
recycle
fair.
my jokes, Jared. I'm not that funny. Let me have it, okay? Please. Thank you. But they got the win. That's what matters. They're now 3-1 on the season, have a good chance to make it 6-1 before week 8 when they head to Buffalo. They have the Giants, the Jets, the Commanders the next 3 weeks. Do you like them at 4-1 odds to win the whole NFC at this point? Because what I saw from the Packers against the Pats this past week didn't give me too much confidence in them as a team.
So when you look at the Packers in general, I think there's a lot of upside because what are we talking about? First of all, their defense is playing slightly above expectation so far. So let's put their defense to the side because I think their defense has been the same scrappy unit with a good secondary and some nice pieces up front as before. Nothing's really changed there. It's the same defense now with Jenkins and Bakhtiari starting to come back. Those two guys are huge. This entire handicap gets blown up if Bakhtiari and Jenkins revert back to the injured form that we've seen over the last season or so. Right now, they're healthy. Mazel tov. We hope it stays that way. The wide receiver group has talent. I saw Dobbs drop a touchdown in the end zone that was a perfectly placed throw on Sunday. It was right there. You saw Watson get loose. They ran a little end around in the goal line. They got, gimmicky with him, and they're starting to get the ball in his hands, and he's starting to get comfortable. The pieces are there. They're just so young, and they're so inexperienced. I would be willing to bet that with the steady hand of LaFleur and Rodgers, over time, throughout the course of a 17-game season, we see a lot of improvement there. And the Packers team we're talking about now on offense will be very different than the one we're talking about in December and January. If you use that logic, then yes, you're buying low on a Packers team that was an NFC favorite for most of the offseason, and now they're kind of sitting in that second chair behind Philly and kind of even with Tampa. So, yes, you can absolutely make a case that there is a little bit of value on the schedule is over the next month, and then I'll give you my definitive answer. Here you go. Giants, Jets, Washington, at Buffalo on Halloween. Safe to say they're going to win those 3 games. And then the game
that's what I said.
Buffalo
I said going into
Halloween
week 8, they're going to be 6-1 before week 8. I mean, that's what I like. Those 3 teams. It's crazy.
But they could get they could get blasted by Buffalo and up at Orchard Park, and then we have a very different tune. So I think I guess what I'm trying to say is in the short term, and Buffalo, and then they face the Rams, and then they close with 2 divisional games. So we'll see. I'm neutral on Green Bay right now, but I think there's upside because of how young they are on offense.
Yeah. Let's go quickly through the AFC before we bring in John. Bengals plus 250 to win the AFC North. Their strength right now is their defense. They've allowed the second fewest touchdowns per drive. And I feel like we haven't seen the best from Joe Burrow yet. Would you take them at plus 250 at this point to win the AFC North?
So we bet them at plus 330 after week 1. So I'm a little bit biased because I already have a pretty nice nugget in my back pocket ready to nibble on. They play a monster game this week in Baltimore.
Yeah.
They're underdogs in that game. They're plus 150-ish. I think if you were going to ask me, would I rather bet them this week in the futures market or in the straight up market against the Ravens, I think I'd rather take the 3.5 points against the Ravens. The Ravens, to me, defensively are a little bit on the struggle bus right now. It's actually down to 3, so it's not even a 3.5. I don't know. I'm a little neutral on this one too. What do you think? I like the Bengals. I think they're still a good team. They're still a team that can, make some noise, but I don't know. A little bit neutral, I guess.
I feel like we haven't seen the best from Joe Burrow. He had an appendectomy 2 months ago, missed most of preseason, and I feel like he's been a little scrambly in my opinion, but I mean, that will go by as the season goes on. Against good defenses, he's been struggling a little bit, but we still haven't seen the best from him. And last season,
Yeah.
I also feel like teams have figured out the Bengals with Jamar Chase. I mean, they've been doubling him on every situation. He hasn't had
Chase is really
nearly
been
the same
struggling.
season that he had last year. Let's bring in Jon because I feel like we're going a little long on this stock up, stock down. I want to talk to him a little bit more about the Chiefs and the Colts in the AFC. So let's bring in Jon Jansen, host of The Line Change from 8 to 11 p.m. Are a quarter of the way through the season at this point. Some of the overreactions, some of the underreactions, things that have gone on. First of all, Jon, hey, how are you? Happy Tuesday. How are you doing? Oh, can we hear him? I think you might be muted at this point. Kyle, can we unmute him?
Yeah, I don't know if that's on
there.
our
Hello.
end or on his end. Hey, there he is.
Hello.
What's up, pal?
There we go. I'll figure this out at
How
some
are
point.
we?
I only just work in audio and radio. I'll figure this stuff out.
Your mic
there's a
sounds
camera in front of me.
fantastic. So
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
better.
you sound like
Thanks to iHeartRadio, it better sound fantastic.
yeah,
you sound like you're speaking from the heavens.
Radio.
Like I want you to like read me a storybook before I go to sleep or something. That's like the most calming noise I've ever heard in my life.
always the best storytime reader is Jim Nantz. It's always. You can't go anyone else. Jim Nantz has the best storytime voice of all time.
Say it louder for the people in the back because that is the most correct statement I have ever heard. Okay, we were talking a little bit about the AFC, stocking up, stocking down, and we'll get into week 5 in a second. I want to talk to you about the Colts, though. At this point, they're plus 200 to win the AFC South. They fell to 0-2-1 in the AFC South. They haven't won the division since 2014. For me, they're digging themselves a hole at this point with the loss to the Titans. Do you think at 2-1 odds, they're going to be able to come back and win the division by the end of the year?
I don't think so. Tennessee, I thought Tennessee was going to be one of the worst teams in that division because they were winning by such close margins last year, and it was definitely not sustainable when you were looking at all their numbers. You went, no way that's going to keep happening, but Tennessee just finds the way to win every single year, and I'm not saying Tennessee's my favorite team. I think it's Jacksonville. I'm taking a look at the EPA numbers, the DVOA numbers. I'm just taking them at face value. I love Jacksonville at the beginning of the year, 7-1, and the only reason why they really lost that game was weather conditions. It was an uncharacteristic game from Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't turned the ball over this year. He hasn't fumbled a lot. He doesn't have Carson Wentz issues like he fumbles every game. That was a singular game issue. It's really just, I think, that weather issue, and the offense is great around him. It's not explosive, so that's the one thing I have concerns about with Jacksonville. They're one of the lowest teams when it comes to explosive plays in the passing game, but it's Doug Peterson's offense are built for short passing, 9-10 play drives, and Trevor Lawrence is just so good at that. He's accurate. He's smart. He's obviously one of the greatest quarterback prospects we've seen, and I think we're starting to see that. So, no, I don't like the Colts. I think they're not getting as much from the running game as they should be, and Matt Ryan's just not good enough at this point with the way that offense is set up. Carson Wentz may have been better for it because at least he threw down the field. At least he had the explosive arm. We just don't get that from Matt Ryan. So I think there's a lot of issues with Indianapolis.
Yeah, Jared, your thoughts?
Trevor Lawrence, so preseason, shout out to Todd Furman and our friends over at the Bet the Board pod. They gave out Trevor Lawrence's under interceptions. 14.5 is one of their better plays of the preseason for season long. They don't do a ton of season long player props, but that was one that they really identified. And the handicap so far has played out pretty well. Lawrence has been kept upright. He's been, for the most part, in control. Only 2 picks through 4 games, so we're on track there. I mean, obviously, he could have a 4-interception game at any time and get derailed. But I think the handicap of the Jaguars' offense being a little more efficient this year, you can make a case they have the most efficient and explosive offense in their division. Now, defensively, that's the part that I'm surprised with Jacksonville. I mean, right now, I'm looking at my team tiers, and it's got the Bills, the Eagles, and the Chiefs in the top tier. This is the EPA numbers that we look at every day. And the Jaguars are kind of alone in that second tier. So right now, they're the best team in the division. Period. End of story. What we have?
I do want to talk about his future numbers too, because Trevor Lawrence, by the way, he had a 23.5 touchdown prop coming into the season. Davis Mills had one less than him. Davis Mills.
Yeah.
I just think everybody kind of went off the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon way too soon.
Yeah.
He was in the worst structured offense we've ever seen in the modern NFL, and now he has a really smart mind in Doug Peterson. So, look, everything, you're right. The interception numbers, touchdown numbers, it was always going to get much better and at a rapid pace because he's just that talented, and he just needed a good coach.
No,
I think the thing that's surprising too is that when you think about, is it really the Jaguars are really this much better, or was Urban Meyer just awful? Like
a little bit of both.
Like was
we
Urban
all know
Meyer
he was
so
awful.
bad that we're finally seeing the average baseline of what the Jaguars should have been last year, but it's just they had no chance to live up to those expectations. All right, we've got the Chiefs on the list too. Let's get the Chiefs opinions here before we get into your biggest surprises and any early bets. I'll be honest. We talked about this yesterday. If I was going to give out an MVP today, I would give it out to Patrick Mahomes. Am I crazy?
No, not at all, because he's doing it all by himself. I know Kansas City does still have some talent there, but, it was very clear that they don't have a receiver like Tyreek Hill. They don't have the explosiveness of somebody like Tyreek Hill. Juju Smith-Schuster's fine, but he's not that, and he's still making it work. It reminds me a lot of just Tom Brady of all those years of the Patriots. How is he going to win with those receivers? How is he going to win with that offense? And every single year, he finds a way to get it done. And Patrick Mahomes, I think, is just kind of in that mode right now. He's finding a way. It's not as pretty as it was in his second year when he scored 50 touchdowns. It wasn't as pretty the year they won the Super Bowl or got to those AFC championship games, but it works, and it works very well. And Andy Reid's a great coach to be able to help him out with that. So I just think the coach quarterback combo is so good, and Travis Kelce's still the best tight end in the league. Yeah. And so I like Kansas City, and I like Patrick Mahomes a lot. He has a 5-touchdown game under his belt. He's had a couple signature wins, a win against Tampa Bay in primetime, and a win against the Chargers as well, which was a huge game for them, also in primetime. So he just gets so many opportunities to show himself on a big stage, and every time he does, I think everybody's reminded that this guy is still and always will be, until the day he retires, the best quarterback in the league.
I really love the Kansas City Chiefs at this point. And it is crazy. Like, without Tyreek, everyone's like, oh, they're not going to be able to do anything. People are hating on Tyreek, too, for his move to the Dolphins, which he's been doing really well for them. But the Chiefs' biggest strength is their tight ends and running backs now. And I love how those guys have stepped up. And then you look at Mahomes, he has 9 passing touchdowns. Yeah, he has 9 passing touchdowns.
Rutgers.
4 more than the next closest quarterback. He has 4 more touchdowns the next closest quarterback. He's
a rock
phenomenal
star
this season, and he's been able to make it work. All right, let's shift our focus.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
But yes, let's move on.
Let's shift our focus from week 4 to week 5, because there's a lot of really good games on the slate. John, when you look at week 5, or a quarter of the way into the season, which games are you kind of zeroing in on in terms of your best bets, or teams that maybe, hey, need to step it up a little bit and get back in the win column?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when I first looked at this card, usually you can do the first look through and you can pick spots. Like, okay, and look into it a little bit more, but you pick spots. Like, okay, this game looks good, this game looks good. I'll look into it, then I'll bet it. But I think through the first couple times for this card, I did not like anything. This is an ugly trap card, and I didn't like it because a lot of the spots that stood out to me are teams like Pittsburgh getting 14 against Buffalo. I know that sounds bad, but we could be getting Kenny Pickett's first start. Yes, that comes with risk, like turnovers, but it comes with the upside that Mitch Trubisky never had. And Buffalo, for as good as they are, and they're a great team, they're always going to get a team's best shot, and Pittsburgh's always well coached. And so 14 points is a lot to cover. I look at a team like Carolina getting 6 points against San Francisco. San Francisco looks good, but the offense still isn't that good. And the offense, with a couple of just really big plays from Deebo Samuel, could that happen in this one? Sure, but Carolina's desperate. Carolina's at home. San Francisco's offense isn't good enough to pull away for me to feel comfortable with 6 points. This is one of those games where Matt Rule just saves his job out of nowhere, or at least they keep it close, and Carolina covers the 6. It's kind of games like that, but other ones, Miami laying 3.5. Their offense is just too good. I did not like what I saw from Zach Wilson. A couple of good throws, and I know Dan Orlovsky likes to highlight some of the small throws. So you see those like back shoulder throws, some things that he did well, but you look at the numbers still, he's completing 50% of his passes, and it's just not going to be good enough. I don't think he's consistent enough overall in the passing game to continue that success, and especially to do it. Miami defense isn't good, but you have to keep up with Tyreek Hill. You have to keep up with Jalen Waddle. And I know Teddy Bridgewater's a concern because he's obviously the backup quarterback quarterback, but he's similar in a way to Tua Tagovailoa. So I don't think the offense changes much. And look, the explosiveness of those two guys, it's easy to get it done at times with them. And the only other one, I'll lay the points with Jacksonville. I don't love it, and it's one I might back off of once we get towards the end of the week, but I want to take the numbers at face value right now. We're still seeing them ranked as one of the top teams in the NFL, DVOA, EPA, and that game was such an outlier. Even for Trevor Lawrence last season, that game was an outlier, uncharacteristic fumbles. I just don't think you get that again. While Houston, they have shown legitimate concerns offensively. Davis Mills, I guess, is a complete disaster. Lovie Smith is not a good coach. I'm going to lay the points with Jacksonville. It's one I might end up laying off of once I get kind of towards the end of the week and, maybe see where the money's coming in, where the line's moving. But at the moment, I think I would be willing to lay it on Jacksonville.
So the bottom 10 of the quarterback ranking list in terms of the efficiency grades, Baker's last. Baker's the worst. Listen, I've been saying it for 2 weeks now. He's the worst quarterback in the league. Justin Fields is bottom 3. Davis Mills, Trubisky, Matt Ryan. I mean, those are the quarterbacks right now that, in my opinion, are considered the worst in the league. I'll give you one that's not the worst in the league, and this is going to be my best bet of the week. And this is the spot that I love on the board this week. This is a perfect buy low spot for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They've lost 2 in a row. You're only laying 8. This line was 11.5 when it opened over the Summer Falcons. 8-1 against the spread. He owns the Atlanta Falcons. The only game that he didn't cover was a game where the Falcons went up 17-0 at halftime. And then Brady and the Bucks reeled off 31-10 in the second half. They won the game by 4. The spread was 6. I don't know what it is about this Falcons defense, but Brady owns the Atlanta Falcons. Is this the spot that we finally get this year?
Yeah, this could be the week to bet, I think, both Green Bay and Tampa Bay, because the New York Giants, what they're doing is completely unsustainable. It is a one-man show. If you look at their explosive plays, they do rank kind of towards the top, but it's 29 total big plays. 25 of them are in the rushing game, only 4 in the passing game. They don't have a passing game. And I think you talked about it with Aaron Rodgers, that the receivers are kind of catching on a little bit. It's just kind of these small errors. Christian Watson dropped one earlier in the season. Romeo Doubs dropped one last week. But I'm starting to like some of the things I see. Now, it might be a little bit of a slow burn with them, but it's getting better each week. But I think you're right. Yeah. Green Bay's in that spot, but also Tampa Bay is absolutely in that spot. There's no way you win a game passing the ball
this week.
Only 7 passes. You can't do it.
It's a really good teaser spot, actually.
Yeah.
Tampa
talking about
3-7. I like it.
Atlanta still hasn't gotten over the fact where Tom Brady and the Patriots came in and absolutely obliterated them in the Super Bowl. And honestly, I live in Atlanta now, and people still, if you bring that up, they're like too soon.
I didn't even think about that angle.
They
I didn't even think about that angle. I love it.
They have PTSD still from that Super Bowl game. It's like I just moved there a year ago. So I'm learning the Atlantean ways.
Oh yeah.
You can't even mention it without people freaking out. But John, one more question before we let you go. You're in Philly. The Eagles.
Oh boy.
The energy there has to feel pretty good with them being the only undefeated team in the NFL. What's the vibe like out there in Philly with all of the Eagles fans? Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, doing pretty good. And, that Phillies team just popped some champagne bottles for the first time in 11 years. The Eagles are doing well. The Philadelphia Union, which you can hear in The Gambler, they're doing well. Vibes are good, and the Eagles look great. I've been one that's very hesitant to jump on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon because, Jared and I watch a lot of college football. There was just a lot of inconsistency with him throwing. The numbers at Oklahoma look good, but if you watched him play, there were some really bad games thrown in there. The accuracy just wasn't there. But this guy, and, I always grade quarterbacks, that second year, you have to see a jump, because if the second year you don't see the jump, you're not going to see it the third year unless you're an anomaly like Josh Allen. But we're seeing that with Jalen Hurts, and it's different because this guy is just probably one of the biggest workhorses in the NFL. He's strong as heck. He works really hard at his game. He's got a lot of the Nick Saban in him, and especially when you hear him talk, he just talks in Sabanisms, but the guy's just built different. He truly is. one receiver. Turns out when you give your young quarterback a top receiver like a Jamar Chase, like a Jalen Waddle, like an A.J. Brown, turns out they end up playing a lot better. So I love everything. And that's just Jalen Hurts. The roster we knew was good. That was a top 5, top 3 roster coming into the season. It just was down to the coach and the quarterback who we had questions about. And they have answered, I think, every single one of those. You know, the vibe should be good. And I think sights should be set pretty high. And I'm talking not just NFC, but this is a team that can absolutely win a Super Bowl this season.
I got a lot of crap on social media because I said on the show on Sunday that you guys were talking Super Bowl in Philly, and there was a Philly fan. I think I lost you guys for a second.
I don't know what's going on with my computer,
no
you guys.
idea what's happening with our stream right now.
I don't either.
Is this thing on? Are we on?
It's on.
And did you also say that I'm a really good bettor too?
I said that Lauren.
I think so. I think you did. I think that's what I heard.
Person I've ever worked with in my entire life. And Sean Brace and Jon Jansen, who do a great job for The Gambler, asked me about the Eagles being the best team in the NFC. So, yes, angry Philly fans, it's okay at this stage for you to be thinking about the Super Bowl. You have the best team in the league right now, top to bottom, nose to toes. We're 4 weeks in. We're 20% of the way through the year. It's okay.
That feels good hearing from you, Jared. That feels good.
Now, does that mean the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl? No, but at 4-0, 23% of the way into the year, it's okay to admit that the Eagles should have their sights set on winning the whole thing. If you're not there yet, get there.
And to be honest with you, your quarterback can squat 600 pounds. Enough said. I mean, he didn't call it.
He was great on the
quarterback ever in the history of the NFL has been able to squat 600 pounds. This guy is absolutely unique from everybody else. And
it's gross.
It's amazing that he's worked on his game enough to where he can consistently put all of his tools together. It's amazing to watch what he's done. Because, again, I've been the biggest hater of him. I've been the biggest, he said, God bless the haters or whatever on his sweatshirt. That was me. He was talking about probably me there. And I've been proven completely wrong. So I've done it.
As Geno Smith would say, people write me off, but I ain't right back. And that is Jalen Hurts throughout this entire season. John, we so appreciate you coming on the show, John, giving us your thoughts on Week 5. I'm sure we'll be talking to you throughout the stretch of the season. Best of luck to your Philadelphia Eagles. And now you're the number one Jalen Hurts fan. You love to see it.
Yes, I'm number one. Thank you, Lauren. And then it's Jared. I'll talk to you in about a couple of hours, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't have my watch on, but give it like 5 hours. You can't get rid of me.
That was Jon Jansen, host of The Line Change, 8 to 11 p.m. on Fox Philly. The Gambler, make sure to check it out. That was great stuff from him. Before we get into our plays of the day, Jared, let's talk about Superbook Sports, because Let's Bet It is presented by Superbook Sports. Go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, guys, we are all rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook will give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread, any total, and if there's a safety scored at any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Okay? Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. All right, before we get into our best bets of the day, we talk about superbook.com. What about Pickswise.com, Gerard? Who do we have for our best bets of the day?
We got some fun ones. So first of all, we haven't talked about the baseball card at all today. Today's baseball card is pure chaos. There's 18 games, 3 doubleheaders, and by the way, 0 playoff spots still available. So they're just playing out the season. There's really not, I think there might be some seedings with the wild card, but there's really nothing left to decide in the baseball world. Mm-hmm. We know who the MVPs are. We know who the Cy Youngs are. We know who the rookies of the years are. We know who the playoff teams are. We know who the division winners are. But that doesn't mean we're not betting on these meaningless games. We got Yerfy-Nerfy action. Obviously, tons of Yerfy-Nerfies on the board today. But 3-star plays specifically. Chadwick Wetzel has a moneyline play on the Angels-Athletics game. Mark Lammy has a total on the Blue Jays-Orioles game. And, oh, by the way, we haven't talked about EPL or UCL or anything. I've been so damn busy with the real football, American football. I haven't even had a chance to handicap any soccer at all this entire fall so far. We do have a Champions League 3-star play from James Milton on the board today. I will likely be dabbling. Probably not a lot, but just because I haven't watched or really handicapped any soccer today or this season, really, I'll probably be dabbling. But there's a lot on the site today. Even though it's not a football day, There is a lot
Yeah.
of action, baseball and soccer, for you to sink your teeth into. We're going to have NBA
You
and
mentioned
NHL pretty soon,
baseball.
too. Just wait.
I know, so soon. You mentioned baseball, no playoff spots to be playing for, but the Yankees, in my opinion, still have a good amount to be playing for. They're sitting at 98 wins. They have to win 2 of their last 3 games to get to 100.
Oh.
And
Yeah, that's
Aaron
a good
Judge,
angle. I like that.
Aaron Judge sitting at 61 home runs. The Yankees want him to get to 62. And for that reason, I am betting the Yankees run line at plus money, plus 125. They have a doubleheader today. I'm betting the Yankees run line actually in both games, but my best bet is the first game, plus 125. 4 games in 3 days to finish the season. Jameson Taillon on the mound for the Yankees, 31 starts, 3.83 ERA, a whip of 1.11. Now you look at the other side. Spencer Howard on the mound for the Rangers, 7.71 ERA and a 1.73 whip through 10 appearances this season. He's averaging 2.87 home runs per 9 innings pitched, which love that stat for Aaron Judge to be able to get his 1 more home run that he needs to get. The Yankees 100% have the pitching advantage in this spot. And you look at the Texas in the last 6 games, they've lost the last 6 straight. And in the last 10, the Rangers are only hitting 181 against the Yankees. Aaron Judge sitting at 61 home runs. The Yankees want him, need him to get to 62. He has 3 games left to do it. They're also going to play a lineup / starters to get Aaron Judge up to the plate as much as possible. Also, Yankees need to win 2 of their last 3 to get to 100 wins on the season. And Texas is already like, bye-bye, I'm looking to next year. Can we just finish out these games at this point? I looked at the Yankees over their last 14 games. They've won 11 of the last 14, and they've covered the spread in 8 of those 11 games. Taking my chances. They're pushing for 100 wins. They're pushing for Aaron Judge to get to 62 home runs, and I'm getting it at plus money, plus 125 Yankees run line. Lock it up, baby. And you going back to the well with the Nerfies, my friend.
Yes, just to clarify, is this they're playing 2 games today? This is the first game of the doubleheader.
Yeah, I said it was the first game. Yeah, but I'm betting the run line in both games.
I wanted to make sure I got that right.
I'm betting the run line in both games. But my play of the day is game 1.
Okay. Game 1, doubleheader, run line for Jabara. She's gonna get back in the mix today. Aaron Judge is gonna hit 62. We're all excited. By the way, I'm pretty sure from what I recall, that first game starts very soon, like in 2 hours or so. So get that 12:20, I think,
12:40 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like 9:40 out here. Wow, that's like really soon.
Yeah.
All right, baseball matinee today, morning baseball. All right, I am going back to the well. By the way, I do like a lot of Nerfies today and 1 Yerfie. We didn't do a segment on the show because we're obviously in football mode, but I will tweet out the sheet a little bit after we wrap up here, and I will indicate on my spreadsheet and on the other places that you can track my bets which Nerfies and Yerfies I am betting today. But this 18 games, we're going to go strong the last 2 days here. We're going to try to suck up a little bit of ROI. Hopefully we don't piss away any ROI. But I could see there being some Nerfy vibes with some of these teams as we just try to set the lineup accordingly for the next stage of the season and teams kind of just go into the tank. But we're going for the official play of the day. Obviously, I'll probably bet 5 Nerfies today, and this will be the one that loses, the one that I give out to you guys for the play of the day.
Of course.
But it's the one that has the most edge on my sheet, and I've been using the sheet as gospel for the last few months, so we're going to go with it. Reds, Cubs, Nerfy. This game is in Cincinnati. It's a 6:40 Eastern time start. I got minus 110 over at, I forget where, but there are some minus 110s available. Luis Cessa, Javier Assad, they've been solid this year. A small sample size. Cessa's only 7-2 to the Nerfy, 3-0 at home. Assad came up, about a month or 2 ago. He's 5-2 to the Nerfy this year. Assad's numbers are slightly less, slightly worse than Cessa's numbers. But both guys, again, have decent Nerfy hit rates so far this season. And the lineups for both of these teams have been really poor. So I won't get into the handicap too much, but basically it's slightly above, maybe average to slightly above average pitchers in terms of their Nerfy rates, below average lineups, and some weather in Cincinnati. It's getting colder. The ball's not traveling as far. You like the no-run first inning vibes when you have pitchers that, are decent, and you have offenses that just are kind of checked out. Neither of these teams obviously go into the postseason. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Look for that best price. Minus 110 is where I would play it. I would probably play it up to minus 120. Anything past that, I would pass. Reds, Cubs, Nerfy.
I love it. No runs first inning and no more for us on the show today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Javara. Let's bet it. Presented by Superbook Sports. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.